1, 2, 3.
Sorry.
I can count, huh? We're waiting for Father Pat Maloney, the Saint of the Lower East Side, to come in and kick off the ceremony for the next hour or so.
Ding dong, the witch is dead, there's no west, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Now, if this was the BBC, we wouldn't allow that. We're doing away with that. And Father Pat, you want to come up? I'd like to thank everyone here for turning out for the Irish Week for Margaret Thatcher. Now, it has been Margaret Thatcher that has brought us together, but we're really here to remember the victims and not remember her. And if we do remember her, it's her policies. So we want to remember the coal miners that went out on strike, led by Arthur Scargill, and how some of them were killed and shot with plastic bullets. We also want to remember the 323 sailors that were killed on the Belgrano in neutral waters by Margaret Thatcher during the Malvinas War. Remember, it's not the Falklands, it was the Malvinas War. And I want to thank the people that are in here from Argentina tonight that came down, that we will not forget those sailors that were murdered, and how she was not brought up on war crimes. It's beyond me, but they never seem to do in the Western countries. And particularly, being this is an Irish bar, we want to remember the 10 hunger strikers who died on hunger strike because of the intransigence of Margaret Thatcher. And one person, if you were in New York in 1981 and were at the demonstrations at the British Consulate, you know there was huge crowds there with the mock coffins, and then the march that went down 2nd Avenue, where you made a left onto 47th Street into Dag Hammershaw Plaza, where there was a flatbed truck, and one person that was always there for all the funerals, and that was Father Pat Maloney. And I want to introduce the Saint of the Lower East Side, Father Pat Maloney.
May I first ask you to have just a moment of silence in memory of the glorious 10, the men, Bobby Sands and his glorious companions, were ruthlessly murdered after a long life of torture by the Butcher of London, known as the Iron Lady. May God grant glory to our glorious martyrs. But let us remember, they speak about the Iron Lady. Iron, there's nothing iron about her. She was sullied, dirty, stained steel, with a heart of steel. A heart that allowed 10 vibrant young Irish men die slowly the torturous death of hunger strike. She was the woman who denied our Irish men the right to human dignity and the status of political prisoners. And let us look back for a moment. If a man is a common criminal in any country of the world, he's given a fair trial at least, a jury of his peers, and can call witnesses on his behalf. But our men were picked off the street, lifted is the word they used back in the occupied zone, dumped into not prisons, but internment camps, not allowed the opportunity to challenge witnesses on the very word of the special branch, or even that would be in the south, but in the north, the B specials and the others, on their very word, these men were interred. It is frightening to see men become aged at 18 and 19. Young men who are fit and strong in mind and body a year ago now resemble shrunken skulls of human beings. Every aspect of the H-block life, from cold empty cells and denial of every comfort, to refusal of medical treatment, is designated to grind down our resistance, but it will not succeed. They may hold our bodies in the most inhuman conditions, but while our minds remain free, our victory is assured. That was from Bobby Sands while languishing in his prison cell. Now we can look at the hunger strikers for a moment and imagine the torture of the mothers who lost sons, the wives who lost husbands, the children who lost their parents, and all because they asked to be recognized for who they were. The freedom fighters of Ireland attempting to finish what had started in 1916. Thatcher was a butcher in the same lineage of Lloyd George, who, after the Civil War, threatened that if we did not sign the treaty, they would annihilate our nation. And our men had no choice. Some of them, but not all, including my father of blessed memory, did not lay down their arms. They hid them until another day would come. And then we had, followed of course, Churchill. Another one they lauded as a great man. And Churchill threatened the then Taoiseach of Ireland and said, if you do not give up your ports and support Britain, they threatened us again. After it agreed to leave the Malvinas, Argentina, she blew them out of the water, leaving Argentine women without husbands, children without fathers. Then, when good, honest, decent British citizens from the different colonies reached the time that they could come back to Mother England to look for prosperity, British citizens bearing British passports, they became indentured servants, similar to slaves in their so-called motherland. And when they went in the streets in peaceful protest, Thatcher referred to them as thugs, thugs, thugs. We can refer back to her as murderous, murderous, murderous. That's who she was. Now, it might sound strange and maybe a little contradictory that a Catholic priest should speak so vehemently and strongly. But when you look into the eyes of the mothers of some of the hunger strikes, I had the great privilege of doing the Mass, the 10th anniversary of the hunger strike in St. Patrick's Cathedral. Members of the Sands family and members of other hunger strike families were there. The pain was still there, and I'm sure those who are still living, that pain continues forever. This was the pain inflicted by the woman that the Queen of England should call a lady. By the longest shot of the imagination, you could not call this woman a lady. She was ruthless. But then again, the gospel tells us we must forgive. But remember, forgiveness is not unconditional. Forgiveness is based on the willingness to say I'm sorry, to repent, and to make restitution. Thatcher never made any even attempt to apologize or say sorry to the Irish people. And unfortunately, in today's Ireland, there are those who will bow to her and maybe shake hands with the Queen that backed her up. That's a different story. Far be it from me to get into politics. But however, well, the uprising in England showed how she treated her own people. I'd like to make something crystal clear. I have never been anti-English, only British and English policy. English, as Sean McBride said one time, the great statesman, when it came to dealing with the Irish, the English had a totally different view, a totally different morality. We were considered subhuman. So we have to take all that into consideration in seeing and asking ourselves, who was Maggie Thatcher? Let me again, Bobby Sands would like to speak to you from his throne in heaven. There is a beautiful poem he wrote called Poetic Justice. Dream, sure enough, of all I've ever had. I dreamt I'd left this life, and to be honest, I was glad. And so I felt my soul ascending. I looked down to whence I came, and all I saw was nakedness, suffering, and pain. I proceeded further. When we reached the Golden Gate, where the Lord sat on his throne, and Peter called upon me to come to show them alone. Bob, said the Lord, you've done all right down there. Of torture, pain, and suffering, don't I know you had your share? Let him in, Peter, said the Lord, and go in peace, my son, for the Lord your God forgives you, and everything you have done. Well, I was a happy soul, for the good Lord had forgiven all. I was just about to collect my wings when I heard Roy get his call. Mason, Lord, said Peter, I think you know him well, and by his colour of his soul, he has plenty to tell. Peace be with you, Lord, said Roy. And now, the same Lord is saying to Thatcher, peace to you. Have you anything to confess? Yes, Lord, Thatcher said. You must believe me. It was Cromwell that made the mess, and Merlin, Rees, and Winslow. They led me far astray. Lord, what else could I have done there? I could find no other way. That's what probably Maggie is saying before the throne of the Lord tonight. She's probably copying a plea. She's probably saying what the Nazis said at Nuremberg. I did my duty. I served my king and empire, my queen and empire, a blood-stained, ruthless, vicious empire that thought nothing but the glory of the crown and their own, filling their own coffers and their safes with the gold of the world. And what about H Block? The Lord said to Maggie, and all those naked men you kept. Don't you know, said the Lord, I watched them, and every night they wept. You tortured them, and you held them all those years, naked and suffering. They wept a million tears. Send her down to the H Block 5. As a priest of the Catholic Church, I must say, may God have mercy on her soul. May God deliver us all from the evil that such people can perpetrate throughout the world. I think it might have been Voltaire who said, Such people are belched out from the depths of hell on the eve of perdition. Hitler would have been one of them. Thatcher would have been another. And there would be others that we are not here to speak about tonight. I appeal to you, good people here. Remember, in 1916, a handful rose against the evil empire. And as long as there are even a few good men and women willing to stand up for the cause of justice and freedom, the likes of Thatcher will not have prevailed. They will prevail if we continue to banter with and play with the British. They've broken every treaty they've ever made with us. Now, I am not indeed an advocate of the return to the bomb or the bullet. I believe sincerely in the just war of defense, should that ever happen. But 3 years from now, we should know, we will celebrate the glorious 100th anniversary of the Irish uprising, the revolution, not just a rebellion, not a rising, it was a revolution in which the men and women of Ireland revolted against the tyranny of the most evil empire that ever ruled the world. It is our responsibility to see that the sacrifices of Bobby Sands and his men be not in vain. It's our responsibility to hope and pray for an Ireland united and free, a 32-county country. And remember the words of Thatcher. I close with these. They were, out, out, out. I fully agree with her. Out Thatcher, out Queen, out all of you who do not belong on the soil of Ireland. May God love and bless you all.
If we could have Deanna Best come up and play a couple of songs. Just remember, this is going to go on for about an hour. We're going to have on very shortly, in a little while, Ronald Reagan will be coming up here to do a eulogy for his BFF, to use that term. But we're going to have some music that's punk reggae by a local girl here in Brooklyn. And you know the connections, particularly in London. If you saw when Margaret Thatcher died, the people of Caribbean descent had the parties in Brixton, and they were partying there because they knew full well what went on with Thatcher's policies, and they suffered under those policies in Brixton. So they turned out, and I think it's quite good that people of Caribbean descent and the Irish who worked, particularly over in London on the underground and laying down the cables, that we started off with some punk reggae songs by someone from Brooklyn.
This is my husband, Aaron. We have a band called Brave New Girl, but we were asked to just play a couple of songs that were popular, made popular by Margaret Thatcher because they were about her. So, they would not exist without her. They made enough people angry and made a whole movement around it.
Stand down.
Stand down. Welcome to clap. I said, I see no joy, I see only sorrow. I see no joy of your bright new tomorrow. So stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret. I said, stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret. Said, I see no joy, I see only sorrow. I see no chance of your bright new tomorrow. So stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret. Stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret. I sometimes wonder if I'll ever get a chance to sit with my children in a holiday jam. Our lives seem petty in your cold gray hands. Give a second thought, would you ever give a damn? I thought it's stand up, Margaret. Ah, stand up, Margaret. Everybody shout it, stand up, Margaret. Please stand up, Margaret. Tell me how it worked with this worldwide law. Short setting what a third world war. Stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret. We need a peace and unity, ha, peace and unity, peace and unity, peace and unity. Stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret. I said stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down, Margaret.
Thank you.
Making Roger wrote a little note in the Guardian. Said, "Lie down, Margaret."
This one's actually by an Irish singer.
Sinead O'Connor. It's called Black Boys and Mopeds. Margaret Thatcher on TV, shocked by the dance that took place in Beijing. It seems strange that she should be offended. Those same orders are given by her. Said this before now. Said I was childish, and you'll say it now. Remember what I told you. If they hated me, they will hate you. England's not the mythical land of Man, George, and Roses. It's the home of police who kill black boys on mopeds. And I love my boy, and that's why I'm leaving. I don't want him to be aware that there's any such thing as grieving. This is Asha. Down at Smithfield, 5 a.m. looking for food for her kids. In her arms she holds 3 cold babies, and the first word that they learned was please. These are dangerous days. To say what you feel is to dig your own grave. Remember what I told you. If you were of the world, they would love you. Brooklyn's not the mythical place of hipsters and posers. It's the home of police who kill black boys on mopeds. And I love my boy.
her for coming up and drawing the connections there. I wanted to do one more reading from Bobby Sands. As I said to New York One there before, why are we here? I said, it's Thatcher that brought us here, but we're remembering the victims, her victims. And surely Bobby Sands, who was elected to her parliament as an MP for Fermanagh South Tyrone, and you would have thought that when he was elected, she would have said, all right, they have support. Let's end this hunger strike. But what did she do? She passed a law that went through the parliament saying no other prisoners could run for the parliament. And this is how she treated the hunger strikers. So I'm going to have Janet Coleman from WBAI come up, well-known author, movie star, and she's going to read a little bit from Bobby Sands' writings from 1980.
Gave me this piece to read. I said, I can't read these words of Bobby Sands. I don't have an Irish accent. He said, do it in a Yiddish accent. And then I said to Father Pat, I said, I can't read Bobby Sands. I don't have an Irish accent. He said, Bobby Sands, he was from the north. He didn't have an Irish accent. So let the words speak for themselves. This is a piece called I Fought a Monster Today. It was first published in the Republican News, October 7, 1978. I fought a monster today, and once more I defeated the monster's army. Although I did not escape, I survived to fight another day. It was hard, harder today than ever before, and it gets worse every day. You see, I am trapped, and all I can do is resist. I know someday I will defeat this monster, but I weary at times. I think and feel that it may kill me first. The monster is shrewd. It plays with me, it humiliates me, and tortures me. I'm like a mouse in comparison to this giant. But when I repel the torture it inflicts upon me, I feel 10 feet tall, for I know I'm right. I know that I am what I am, no matter what may be inflicted upon me, it will never change that fact. When I resist, it doesn't understand. You see, it doesn't even try to comprehend why I resist. Why don't you give in to me, it says. Give in to us, the monster's army jibes. My body wants to say, yes, yes, do what you will with me. I am beaten, you have beaten me. But my spirit prevails. My spirit says, no, no, you cannot do what you want with me. I am not beaten. You cannot do what you want with me. I refuse to be beaten. This angers a monster. It goes mad. It brutalizes me to the point of death. But it does not kill me. I often wonder, why not? But each time I face it, death materializes before me. The monster keeps me naked. It feeds me. But it didn't feed me today because it had tried so hard to defeat me and failed. This angered it once more, you see. I know why it won't kill me. It wants me to bow before it, to admit defeat. If we don't beat it soon, it will murder me. Of this I am certain. It keeps me locked up in a dark, smelly tomb, and it sends its devils to keep me on edge, to keep the torture going. Each time the door of my tomb opens, the black devils attack me. They nearly won yesterday. It was inhuman. They beat me into unconsciousness. I think, is this really happening to me? And can this happen in this day and age? Monsters do not exist, nor do devils. There cannot be so many devils. I'm mad, yes, that's it. I'm insane. But my pain, suffering, and grief are real. It must be all real. No, I'm right. I know I'm right. I must resist. I have nowhere to run. My tomb may be my grave. I'm surrounded by a barbed wire jungle. The monster roars at me. You shall never get out of here. If you don't do as I say, I shall never release you. I refuse. My body is broken and cold. I'm lonely and I need comfort. From somewhere afar, I hear those familiar voices that keep me going. We are with you, son. We are with you. Don't let them beat you. I need to hear those voices. They anger the monster. It retreats. The voices scare the devils. Sometimes I really long to hear those voices. I know if they shout louder, they will scare the monster away and my suffering will be ended. I remember, and I shall never forget, how this monster took the lives of Tom Ash, Terence McSweeney, Michael Gagan, Frank Stagg, and Hugh Coney. And I wonder each night what the monster and his black devils will do to me tomorrow. They always have something new. Will I overcome it? I must. Yes, I must. Tomorrow will be my 740th day of torture. An eternity. Yes, tomorrow I'll rise in the H blocks of Long Cash. Yes, tomorrow I'll fight the monster and his devils again. L'chaim.
Hey, Chris, I don't know who's up first. I know we have Mary Courtney here, and we have Donna Hickey. I guess Mary Courtney, is she up next? Mary Courtney, who you can see is featured in all those lovely posters that we have around there. 5 years ago, I met with Brian Moore O'Brien, and I said, listen, we got a plan for the death of Margaret Thatcher. So we set up a website, and Bernie did the posters. And when the New York Times did the story this week, they said, can we use one of Brian Moore's posters? I said, sure. They looked at the posters and said, listen, they're way too graphic. What we'll do is put a link to them. So there's a link on the New York Times to these posters, and Mary Courtney's name was there because Mary was there 5 years ago, waiting for the death of Margaret Thatcher. A long time in our lifetime, but in the lifetime of Henry Kissinger, it's really not that long, because I thought she had made a pact with the devil just like Kissinger did, and that she would never die and this day would never happen. But it's quite obvious she didn't take the proper oath like Kissinger did, because they have taken her. So I want to give over to Mary Courtney, who's been there for a lot of Republican events throughout the years, and she's here for the wait for Maggie Thatcher.
All right, give us a minute to get set up here. Thank you, John.
Thank you. This song was called 66 Days. And it was written by a good friend of mine from Sligo. She's passed on 15 years this year. Her name was Anne Holmes.
No, she's not. I'm sitting here first, my stuff this year. My hands are with me.
So, it's called 66 Days. I just need to tune this. Took the train and the ferry, so I think they all not used public transport at the moment. Are we okay over there, guys? Get down and relax. Maggie'd be laughing now, come on. Sit down and take it easy, relax. Have a drink. Bobby Sands died in British hands. Each cloud sat long cash. Gave his life for Ireland's plight, and Christ was with her flesh. 66 days without a fight in defense of what he believed. When he died in Britain's side, while the Irish wept and grieved. Maggie Thatcher's riding high, for she thinks she's got her man. But she'll not find no peace of mind in troubled Ireland. Murder, murder and cry, the loss of one of her sons. Star will bring more storms, the same with more death, bombs and bombs. 66 days without a fight in defense of what he believed. When he died, Henry Britain's side, while the Irish wept and grieved. Oh, when will Britain learn what she's found out in years past? The Irish fight is both just and right, and all Ireland must be free. 66 days without a fight in defense of what he believed.
inside while the Irish wept and grieved. 66 days of fight and fight in defense of what he believed. And when he died, really sick inside while the Irish wept and grieved. While the Irish wept and grieved. Our racing pipes, our traditional pipes, the Ellen pipes there. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant everything. Thank you. Have you already done? Just delighted to be here today, guys.
Big hands for Mary Courtney. We've heard a lot of accents here tonight. We've heard Paula, Pat from Limerick, Mary from Kerry, Queens accent, Brooklyn accent. But somebody just came up to me with an English accent. She says, "Can I say something?" I said, "About who?" She said, "Thatcher." So she promised me a couple of seconds. That person told me that was Father Pat a half hour ago.
Thank you. This will literally be 30 seconds. I have the slightly opposing view about her death in that I wish she'd lived to be 115, lonely, demented, covered in bed sores. But you can't always get what you want. Even her children hate her. Her daughter is batshit crazy and her son is a crook. So see what her loins have spawned. This is a woman who said there's no such thing as society. You know, is there anything more you can say after that? So anyway, I'm happy to celebrate the passing of this devil woman with all of you. And I did live under the tyranny of this witch, so I understand what it was. That's all.
Thank you. As we all know, Maggie Thatcher's BFF, LOL, let's see, I'm tweeting now, so come on. Her best friend was Ronald Reagan. The two of them are inseparable, even in death. We have with us today Ronald Reagan with the devil in hell and Maggie Thatcher in tow. We can just open up the runway here. Here's Ronald Reagan coming up. In tow with the devil.
And Nancy was too frail
Ronald
to
Reagan
travel.
said he'd never go anywhere without Thatcher. And I didn't realize, look, he's kissing the coffin. And there's the devil behind him. Not much difference between the three of them, is there? I give you the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Well, thank you, sir. I would just like to present one of my friends, Satan, who traveled all the way from hell with me today to be part of this great event. Yes, sir. I never could speak off the top of my head, so there's no teleprompters here. I'm going to have to read this if I can see through this mask. We are here today to take this lovely lady back to hell. We've been waiting a long time, and one of the reasons why she lived to be the age that she's lived to is because hell wasn't big enough for Miss Thatcher. We had to build a parallel hell with the help of some of her close friends like Gladstone, Palmerston, Disraeli, Pitt, Lord North, Churchill, and Heath. So we're there, and Maggie, well, wait a second. She did some great, yes, we're there with Jean Kirkpatrick's there too. She's been waiting as well. We've all been waiting to have someone, Eva Braun has been a big fan, and she'll be, down there. And so, let me just say what's happening. First, the other day when she passed, she went to purgatory, and where she was, she went before a judge and a jury of good people. A jury consisted of James Connolly and William Wallace, Bobby Sands, and the fellow Fasters. And they decided to send her down with us. Didn't take long, and so we're happy that they came up with that conclusion. And on her way down to hell, she'll be stopping at the fifth ring in the canal that will be, on a man of war, a British man of war, that will be piloted by Captain Bligh and Lord Nelson. And so she'll come down and she'll spend a couple of days with Longshanks, and then she'll come down to hell with us. I want to thank her for all the great work she's done over 90,000 years on behalf of Satan, for killing all those young boys down there in the Falklands, or the Maldives, whatever you say. And that was a great piece of work. And Satan is extremely happy, and is the reason why she's got such a great estate down there with us. And what she did with Arthur Stargill, destroying the Union there, it's just better than what I did with the air traffic controllers. So, the great work that she's done against the workers and against the Irish, well, I must say, we'll be down there building more units for John Major, Mr. Blair, Mr. Cameron, and of course Gordon Brown. They got a spot in hell coming up real soon as well. And I'm thrilled that I wrote down all of these names and no one's applauding. Queen Victoria and all the King Georges are there as well. You know, playing basketball with Oliver Cromwell. Now, I want to say thank you very much for this great wait. We take her now, Satan, I know how thrilled you are to finally get her, and she committed, she's right up there. We don't know who's number one. Idi Amin, George Bush, me, Kissinger. We're waiting for Kissinger too down there. And this has been a great day to finally bring her down. The room is ready for her. And God bless America, which I think is the greatest nation in the land. I've always said that. And I can't think of someone that has done more harm, which gives her the reason to come down with me today. I love this woman, and so does Satan. Am I right, Satan? She's great. There's a nice big bag of bones in here that were taken down on the express route straight to hell. All right, so get a good look at this woman and remember all the great things she's done against humanity. No one could have done it better than her. And I want to thank Rocky Sullivan for bringing me and Satan up here on the IKEA boat from hell. That's some friggin' ride, I must tell you. Taking that IKEA boat, we're going to go shop around over here at IKEA. because I found out they use non-union labor there. But everybody go to Fairway where they have some more non-union labor there as well. And maybe we can bring some slaves down with us and take care of us for the rest of our lives. And maybe live happily ever after. I split with Nancy, and I'm proposing to this bag of bones here today for all the great work that she's done. God bless you all for being here today. Enjoy the music. Well, let's go, Maggie. Let's go to McDonagh. Come on. I won't make it on New York 1. Come on, Steve. No questions. No questions. No questions.
All right, let's hear it for Randy Credico. You know, a lot of times here in politics, I have no one to vote for. Randy Credico is trying to get on the Democratic primary for mayor of New York. So anyone out there can help out with petitions or just even voting with Randy when he gets on. Hopefully, I mean, you look what happened in Egypt. Mubarak in prison, the comedian who took after Jon Stewart. You have in Italy, one of the head of the political party there is a comedian. And in Reykjavik, Ireland, the mayor of Reykjavik is a comedian. So if it's good enough for those three countries, it's good enough for New York City. So we can only hope that Randy, who's participating in a lot of debates around the city, gets on to the ballot. The petitioning starts, I think, in June. So anyone that can help out, go to Credico 2013. And as Randy said, I'd like to thank Rocky Sullivan. If you don't know, Radio Free Erin is moving their studios here every Saturday. We're going to be doing our show from Rocky Sullivan's Live with this type of comedy. Larry Kerwin's play. Chris is going to be playing here. We're going to have Pete Hamill, Jimmy Breslin, and other authors coming up to read during the show. So it's going to be a great asset to come here every Saturday at 1 o'clock. If you want to come down and see how radio's done, or perhaps not done, you get to come down here at 1 o'clock every Saturday within the next couple of weeks as we do it. The next person is Pat Hickey, who teaches Irish here every Tuesday night. You can come down, but he's playing all around Woodside, Sunnyside, all around the whole tri-state area. And Pat is going to come up, and then he's going to finish up with a big session with everyone here. But before Pat goes on, we're going to send around this small coffin in order to put this event on today, because I was driving a yellow cab at Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and my phone went up like a Christmas tree, and they said, it's on. So it took a lot of money to get Bernie's artwork done up, to get all the things, that brown poster in the background. So if anyone can chip in, as you can see, we got our face here, you can throw it amongst that. We would appreciate that. Anything you can give, from 5 to whatever, checks, we'll take anything. And we would appreciate it, but right now, Pat Hickey. Eliza. As Father Pat would say, I want a silent collection. I don't like the sound of coins jingling or jangling.
You take Sterling, John.
Take Sterling, take euros. Oh no! Oh, with the light
It is the hunger strikes that we think of. This one's called the Roll of Honor. In the dreary H-block cages, 10 brave young Irishmen lay, hungering for justice as their young lives ebbed away, for their rights as Irish soldiers and to free their native land. They stood beside their leader, the gallant Bobby Sands. So read the roll of honor for Ireland's bravest man. We must be united in memory of the 10. England, you're a monster, don't think of you
one. We will never be defeated while Ireland has some sons. Francis Hughes and Noel Laddie, Ray McCreesh from Marma's Hills, in the narrow streets of Derry, they miss O'Hara still. They so proudly gave their young lives to brave Britannia's hold. Their names will be remembered as history unfolds. Through the war-torn streets of Ulster, the black flags that sadly wave to salute 10 Irish martyrs, the bravest of the brave. Joe McDonagh, Martin Hurson, Kevin Lynch, Kieran Doherty, they gave their lives for freedom with Thomas McElwee. Well, oh, Michael Devine from Derry, you were the last to die. Yet 9 brave companions in the martyr dead did lie. Your souls cry out, remember, our deaths were not in vain. Fight on and make our homeland a nation once again. So we the roll of honor for Ireland's bravest men. We must be united in memory of the 10. No, England, you're a monster, don't think that you have won. We will never be defeated while Ireland has some sons. We will never be defeated while Ireland has some sons.
Thank you very much, Richard. Hey folks, I'll do one more for you before I bring John back up. Thanks very much for listening, folks, and as Mary said, it's great to be here and part of all this kind of thing. Days like this don't come around often, is it? Good luck, Maggie, I'll see you later. My name is Joe McDonagh. From Belfast town I came, that city I will never see again. For in the town of Belfast I spent many happy days. I love that town in oh so many ways. For it's there I spent my childhood and found for me a wife. I then set out to make for her life. But all my young ambition met with bitterness and hate. I soon found myself inside a prison gate. Alright, you know, folks. And you dare to call me a terrorist while you look down your gun. My king of all.
Having a wake for Thatcher, who was not dead at the time, and saying, would anyone come to it? And when would it happen? And I said, well, we got a plan for it. And that's what it did. And I'm just very grateful for everyone that came tonight, and to not remember Thatcher, but to remember her victims. The sailors on the Belgrano, the 1981 hunger strikers, and particularly Arthur Strogo and the miners who put up with so much. And I had the pleasure of meeting those miners when they came to Ireland. And the same tactics that were used in the 6 counties were used against the miners up in Yorkshire. The plastic bullets, the beatings. And these are the same people that were beaten off the street, that were shot with plastic bullets, that Thatcher had no problem going to them, listen, I need you to go down to the Malvinas and fight down in Argentina. The same working class that she was beating off the streets wants to use that working class to fight her imperialist wars around the world. And it's just so ironic. And I'm just glad to... Well, no decent pay, and she didn't even want to pay them when they came back home and to do the mines. She wanted to close down the mines and bring in the coal from places that use slave labor to have cheaper coal coming into England. We're going to finish up now with what they call...
In 1803 we sailed out to sea, out from the street town of Derry. From Australia bound freedom rolls around, and the marks of our batters we carry. In the rusty iron chains, the sight for our ways, the good wives we left in sorrow. As the mainsails unfurled, our curses we hurled on the English and thoughts of tomorrow. Oh, I wish I was back home in Derry. Oh, I wish I was back home in Derry. At the mouth of the foil, bid farewell to the sun. Down below decks we were lying. One hungry scream woken out of the dream, with a vision of old Robert dying. The sunburn crowed as we dished out the grill, and O'Connor's down with the fever. 60 rebels today down for Botany Bay, and many will reach the receiver. I cursed them to hell, our old thoughts, our ship danced at the modern firelight. White horses rode high as the devil passed by, taking souls too hard into the twilight. 5 weeks out to sea, we were now 43. Our comrades we buried each one. In our own sky we were lost in the tide, and the seas without a dawn. Never man leaves the land, it's a hell for the man to end out his whole life in slavery. Where the climate is wrong, the gun makes the law, neither wind nor the rain care to brave. 20 years have gone by and I've ended my bond. My comrades ghosts walk behind me, but a rebel ain't me, no, I'm still the same. On the cold and the night you will find me.
Folks, we have a great singer here with us tonight, from visiting from Ireland. Let's hear from Mary McPartland, folks, who's come up and give us a song. Make her feel welcome, folks. Come on.
I went out walking one morning to view yon fair valleys and mountains so gay. I was thinking on those flowers all doomed to decay, that bloom around ye bonny, bonny, sleep galleon brave. For it's oft in the morning with my dog and my gun, I roam through the valleys for sport and for fun. But those days are now all over, and I must go away. So farewell unto ye bonny, bonny, sleep galleon brave. For it's oft in the evening with the sun in the west, I roamed hand in hand with the one I love the best. But the joys of youth have vanished, and I am far away. So farewell unto ye bonny, bonny, sleep galleon brave. It was not for the want of employment at home that caused us poor exiles in sorrow to roam, but those tyrannizing landlords, they would not let me stay. So farewell unto ye bonny, bonny, sleep galleon praise. Thank you.
The people have spoken.
Well, the great singer, a great nationalist, Shane McGowan, the great he left Tipperary and went to London, and you know, he tells all the stories from that time. And this is one of his songs called Rainy Night in Soho. A little bit different, but it's all about the pain and the sorrow of young people leaving Ireland and going to live in London. So, I've been loving you a long time, down all the years, down all the days, and I've cried for all your troubles, smiled at your funny little ways. We watched our friends grow up together, and we watched them as they fell. Some of them fell into heaven, some of them fell into hell. hearts that shelter from a shower, and I stepped into your arms on a rainy night in Soho. The wind was whistling all its charms. I sang you all my sorrows. You told me all your joys. Whatever happened to that old song? To all those little girls and boys. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, the ginger lady by my bed, covered in a cloak of silence. I hear you talking in my head. I'm not singing for a future, I'm not dreaming of the past. I'm not talking of the first time. I never think about the last. Now this song is nearly over. We may never find out what it means, but there's a lot I hope before me, and you're the measure of my dreams, the measure of my dreams. But there's a lot I hope before me, and you're the measure of my dreams, the measure of my dreams.
Mary McPartland, folks.
Okay, don't end this. Let's do it from there. Oh, that was so great.
Oh, Father, why are you so sad on this bright summer morn? When Irish man proud and glad of the land where they were born. Oh, son, I see that memories do of far off distant days. A lad like you, I join the old brigade. Are the lads who stood with me when history was made? I long to see the voice of the old brigade. Hills and farms that calls into arms was there by one and long, and from the glen came brave young men to answer Ireland's call. Sure, it was long ago we faced the foe, the old brigade and me, and fighting by side they fought and they died, that Ireland might be free. Where are the lads that stood with me when history was made? From the free I long to see the boys of the old brigade.
Folks, can we get Ray Collins up to do a song, folks? Wow, what an encouraging group of people, folks. Can we get Ray Collins up for a song, folks?
Actually sang it a few months back. This is for Kathleen and Don. I am a proud young Irishman. In Ulster's hills my life began. A happy child through green fields ran, and kept God's and man's laws. But when my age was barely 10, my country's wrongs were told again by tens of thousands marching then, and my heart stirred to the cause. I learned of centuries of strife, of cruel laws, injustice rife. I learned it in my own young life, the fruits of
foreign sway. Protesters batten, tortured, maimed, division nurtured, passions flamed, outrage provoked, right's cause defamed. This is the conqueror's way. But I'll wear no convict's uniform, nor meekly serve my time, that Britain might brand Ireland's fight 800 years of crime. Descended from proud Connaught clan, Concannon serves cruel Britain's plan. Man's inhumanity to man has spawned a trusty slave. No strangers are these bolts and locks, no new design these dark-edged blocks. Black Cromwell lives while Thatcher stalks, the bully taunts the brave. But I'll wear no convict's uniform, nor meekly serve my time, that Britain might brand Ireland's fight 800 years of crime. Does Britain need 1,000 years of protest, riots, death and tears? And will the last decade of fears of 80 decades spell an end to Ireland's agony? You hope for human dignity, and will the last obscenity be this grim H-block cell? So I'll wear no convict's uniform, nor meekly serve my time, that Britain might brand Ireland's fight 800 years of crime. No, I'll wear no convict's uniform, nor meekly serve my time, that Thatcher might brand Ireland's fight 800 years of crime.
Great talent, folks.
Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man must stand behind the men behind the wire. Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man must stand behind the men behind the wire. Through the little streets of Belfast in the dark of early morn, British soldiers came a-robbing, wrecking little homes with scorn. Heed the sound of crying children, dragging flowers from the beds. Watch the scene of helpless mothers, watch the blood pour from their heads. Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man must stand behind the men behind. One more time. Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man must stand behind the men behind the wire.
Not for them, judge, jury, or indeed crime at all. Being Irish means we're guilty, so we're guilty one and all.
From the world through it when I go to rumble the banner here again. And the get sight in the eyes of honest men. Honor, fancy, guns, take away some. Everyone will stand behind the men behind the wire. Thanks to guns, they came to take away the sun. And everyone will stand behind the men behind the wire. Now we march behind our banner, firmly stand behind our men. We will have them free to help us build a nation once again. On the people step together, I'll be marching on your way. Never fear and never fall, but till the boys are home to stay. Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man will stand behind the men behind the wire. Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man will stand behind the men behind the wire. Now every man will stand behind the men behind the wire.
Go.